So what's up, everybody? We're gonna get ready to get started. Thanks for sharing the live. Thanks for putting that up there about the podcast. Hello, Austria. How you doing? Shalom, Minister Nice. Shalom, Minister Tamara. Surviving. Thanks for being on. Appreciate you. Thank you, Josh. Bavakasha. We appreciate that. I appreciate that personally. We appreciate that. Hello. Alrighty. So we're gonna get ready to get started. We do a shorter live in the evenings for everyone, and so we're thankful and grateful for everyone being on and joining us today. Keep my family in prayer. There was a family friend, or at least a friend of one of our family members that passed away, and so somebody's struggling with that very much. So we're asking that you keep them in prayer, if you don't mind. And we're going to get ready to get started and get into this on today, speaking on these things that we need to continue to go deep into. We've been speaking specifically. Well, we've been speaking on so many different things. Tonight, we're going to talk about evidence of arrival. Evidence of arrival, and we're talking specifically about the evidence of the kingdom. Thank you, I appreciate that. We're going to talk about evidence of the kingdom, evidence of arrival, right? Yeshua HaMashiach said something powerful to us. He said, "Look, whenever he got ready to do something, he would say that there needs to be that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. The kingdom of other people say the kingdom is coming. The kingdom is coming. Others said the Mashiach is coming. The Messiah is coming. And when Yeshua or anybody really did something, yeah, we're on at 8 a.m. Eastern every day, and then on Mondays and Tuesdays. I'm sorry, we're on 8 a.m. 8 a.m. Eastern every day, but then we're on and Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern New York time, so you can join us for any of those. We want to talk about evidence of arrival, though, right? Evidence of a kingdom, evidence of certain statutes, evidence of a certain mindset. Because a lot of people are always looking for the arrival of something, manifestation, etc., right? What is evidence of arrival of something, though? Especially the kingdom, right? And the reason why I'm focusing on this evening is due to the fact that so many people, including in the time of Yeshua HaMashiach, were always seeking something, and they were always seeking the miracles, right? And the miracles are simply evidence of arrival of something. The miracles are manifestation, but manifestation is evidence that something else had to arrive first, right? Hey, hola, ¿cómo está? So those of us who are, and who are with us, and I'm sorry, may the words of my mouth, the meditation of my heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer. And it's in His authority that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect this message. Amen. And all praises to the Most High. All praises to Him for my wife, the Honorable Maya, Minister Maya even now. After convocation, we praise Him for my family, for my children, for each and every one of you, for those who are with us, against us, etc. We just appreciate you coming on, whether you're listening to this recording later on YouTube, whether you're listening in and watching us right now. We appreciate you all for being on. Shalom, Big Brother Thomas, and thank you again for the love, the likes, all those different things that help us with the algorithm. We appreciate them. So when we're talking about evidence of arrival, evidence of something arriving, you must understand that the manifestation is never really is really the byproduct of something else happening, right? You should be looking for something to happen, and then manifestation comes, right? Laws came not because you needed rights. Laws came because rights were already there. The fact that your rights already exist, a system that gives you rights already exists, means that the law is a manifestation to make sure that your rights are protected, right? Yeah, we can talk about the rapture in the future. Not sure when exactly, but maybe we can bring it up a little bit here. We can bring that in, even speaking in this. I'll try to remember that. I see it in the question box, so I'll try to come to the question box before we close on this evening. But the evidence that the kingdom is here, the evidence of arrival. So many people are looking for so many different things and not looking for the arrival of the kingdom. If the kingdom arrives, then the other things arrive. So the healing that you're looking for example, those that might be looking for healing, the healing is not the evidence of the kingdom you should be looking for. The healing is just simply a byproduct that because the kingdom arrived. The healing can't happen until the kingdom arrives. So the kingdom is a manifestation, but the kingdom is not necessarily evidence of the kingdom, because the kingdom is already there. If you found the evidence that the kingdom was there, you would find what you need to get to the healing. If you found the evidence that the kingdom was there and started living it, you would find that the financial gain is there. If you find the evidence that the kingdom had already arrived, you would find that peace of mind is already there. If you found that the evidence of the kingdom had arrived, you would find that there were other people that thought like you and that you could live with like-minded people already. The evidence of the kingdom is what you should be looking for. People keep looking for all the other stuff that's byproduct of what's arrived, right? What you're looking for is simply a byproduct because something has arrived, right? So, for example, if you're allowed to do certain things, right, because you are a citizen or have a green card, it means that you are allowed to do those things because your citizenship has arrived, right? If we can make that real simple without going into all the sovereignty stuff to make it something that we have to parse through. If I could just make it real simple, if you're looking for certain rights and regulations and rules that you're allowed to do that other people can't do who are not American, then being allowed to do these things is not evidence you're an American, right? You're being an American has evidence already that allows you to do these things, right? If you want to go to the next level in study, when you start understanding things, that's not proof that you went to the next level of study, right? Proof is that you worked hard. Proof is that you spent time skipping maybe some sleep or something. Proof is that you went and bought some books. Proof is that you went to some classes. Proof is that you were putting that stuff in. That's the evidence that you study, right? Now, there's manifestation that comes out of your study. Prayerfully, this is making sense. I don't want to dwell on this part too long, but I just want you to get that concept that people keep talking about stuff that's coming later on, and the reality is we shouldn't dwell on what's coming later on. The stuff that's coming later on will happen simply because you already are in the kingdom. Shalom, Virtual, how you doing? So what we're not looking for is the miracle. We're looking for the kingdom. The kingdom will give the miracle, right? Yeah, I mean, we could talk about the story versus his story and all those things or whatever. All right. So we could say that there's proof that things have already happened and therefore you don't have to look to the future to see what's already happened. We can talk about that too. I agree with that to a certain extent. At the end of the day, though, I want people to get the concept of look for the evidence. Like, so for example, even Yeshua HaMashiach, right? Shalom, how you doing, Erdan? If the evidence, so watch this. People would keep saying, show us a miracle to Yeshua. They always want to show us a miracle. Heal my child, heal my baby, do this, do that. And you know what Yeshua actually said to them about always seeking the miracle or always seeking for something to happen, especially something to happen without you making sure something's established first, without you doing your part. You just always want somebody to fix everything. He said it is a wicked and a perverse generation that's always looking for miracles. Think about that, right? The Messiah that everybody says they follow, he said, if you're out there always consistently just looking for miracles, looking for somebody else to just do something and not looking for evidence that the kingdom has arrived, he said you are wicked and perverse. Perverse or to pervert something is literally talking about you being off. A lot of us think that perversion is only disgusting because that's all we discuss. Perversion is within those confines and within that context. The reality, though, is that the Most High has shown us that if you're simply waiting for somebody to do everything for you, you're just waiting for the good times to roll, and you're not willing to actually establish a system first, then you're perverting kingdom law, universal law, natural law, laws of attraction, law of first mention, constitutional law, right? Marital law, etc. You're perverting law, and you're not willing to do case study, right? You're not willing to see what needs to happen or the precedents that that have been set that allow you to see the manifestation, right? If you had the king, in other words, what he was saying was stop seeking for the benefits only without comprehending that benefits come from being within the kingdom, right? There's a system that must be in place first. And once we have a system in place, right, then we can go ahead and start dealing with things that come out the system. So for example, when we teach about marriage, right, people are always astounded at first, or at least dumbfounded when I say that sex is marriage and marriage is sex. once you have sex with somebody, marriage happens. That means that you become one, literally, brain, DNA, and all that, fusing together. Where you remember your first because your first was the one that you had sex with, right? That's because of a oneness. You're supposed to start thinking about and thinking like the person that you had sex or marriage with, right? So all you said, I'm sorry, for every brother like you trying to make a strong man, there's 30 million baby mamas teaching weakness. Yeah, and we could also say there's 30 million brothers that ain't trying to be fathers, right? Like, I don't know, well, that might be too far, but you know what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, that's because the system hasn't been established. Remember the Willie Lynch system, or the Willie Lynch syndrome, that many people still experience. We're gonna have to go over that again at some point, since they took down the original off of the YouTube page, right? So we're gonna have to at some point go over that again, right? And probably have to make that like a YouTube only thing, because YouTube will allow that, but won't allow some other things. It's very interesting. TikTok won't allow that, but they'll allow me to go into some other things in code. So it's very weird. I got to kind of do that, but you got to understand that there's a system in place where Willie Lynch said if we can simply reverse the nature of black men and black women, and teach women that they're supposed to be in the role of the man, and that they're supposed to teach their children the same thing, and we teach men that they're only supposed to breed, right? Then you would get to a place. Yeah, I see you, Tamara, and you're right. But Willie Lynch literally taught that, and then put that in the system, and then they systemically put that in place to where now that's a system that we have, where there are a lot of black women that believe they're supposed to be in the place of a black man. Hence, if we just be real about it, Shalom J Stacks, and we just do some research about it. You said King James was not black because you found somebody who said he wasn't. Okay, well, for every person that you found, then we could easily find pictures. Matter of fact, if you guys don't mind, I'm just going to go ahead and do this real quick, and then I'm going to get back to what we were talking about. Is that okay? Give me 1 second, because it's weird how people do research. I did my research, and he wasn't black. Okay, hold on 1 second. So we'll get back. Sorry. So we'll get back into this real quick. Those who are on YouTube, we'll get back into this. Everybody else, Shalom, R. Gray, how you doing? So here's just a book for you to be able to read real quick. And this is what I'm saying. Like, you got to find people are just trying to find evidence of what they believe rather than making sure there's a system in place, even systemically. Don't go to the same places you've been going to be able to feed the same thing, right? And study what I'm saying. So this is a book you can go ahead and get. King James, right? King James the Sixth, and right. And what is it? The reunion of Christendom. Okay, what does he look like there? Go study that for yourself. Here's another book real quick that you can go ahead and find, right? Because I don't want people to just feel like I'm making stuff up. So here you go. Here's another picture or whatever. I told you go look for pictures of his parents too. So that's for you to find on your own. Also too, go look. This is a YouTube thing, of course, so you might not believe it or whatever, but maybe somebody else who's not me would say the same thing. Maybe they'll give you some other references that you might find more viable or whatever, or more credible, and give more credence to the little white lie on Black King James. So you have a lot of different places where people know this already. It's just like when people say that Queen Catherine wasn't black. It's just like when they try to tell you that Meghan Markle was this first black person to become royalty. All right. So at the end of the day, though, we're trying to get to kingdom. Okay, and kingdom is really what we're trying to establish. All right. Kingdom is what we're trying to establish, a mindset, a system that allows you to be able to find yourself even within. Right. So you have to make sure that you're about the kingdom. You have to make sure that you're about having a system that's in place. Right. Let's see, Grimlock the afterverse says, because I know ain't black men sending women to prison for loving them and having babies. Because I know ain't no black men sending women to prison for loving them and having babies. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's just keep it all the way honest. I mean, all right, at the end of the day, is there a system that helps with that? Is there a system that's put in place that allows for that to happen, that continues to allow that to happen? Did Willie Lynch say that that would happen? If they taught that to black people for 1 year and taught them how to be subservient for 1 year and made breeding camps and said that marriage was illegal and said that a smart black man was somebody that needed to be killed, right? You know, so there's a system that's there. And that's what I'm saying is we keep only looking at the manifestation. What got you there? Right? What got you there? Right? It sounds like stereotype, you know, but some stereotypes could be real. But the question is, even in the stereotype, even if somebody lives out the stereotype, my question is always, what got you there, right? It's like motivation. I do motivational speaking, and so people expect for me to motivate them. That's not what a motivational speaker should do. That doesn't make sense. Because motivation, T-I-O-N, on a word means it's a person, place, or thing you've arrived at due to what motivates you, right? So if you're a person, place, or thing, so what are you doing? Where are the places you've arrived? And who are you because of what has motivated you? Everybody's motivated by something already. Now maybe we should check what motivates you. Maybe we should see if you're using what motivates you correctly. Maybe we should see about your habits and the system you're in. But what motivates people is already there, right? So I don't have to really motivate you. You already showing up motivated. If somebody shows up to a seminar, they were already motivated for whatever reason to be there. My goal is to see, who are you, what are you doing, and what's the place you're in right now, and what can we do to make sure that what motivates you is being used correctly, or if you're motivated by the correct things, at least for what you need and what your family needs. I'm sorry, Lenny Sharon says, what is our system to contract the Willie Lynch curse? I'm sorry, to contract it? What is our system to contract the Willie Lynch curse? I'm not sure exactly what you mean. If you can explain that to me. So when someone always wants to speak up when you say women are responsible, why someone always wants to speak up? No, I have no problem with saying women are responsible. I say everybody is accountable. So first things first, what I'm saying is there a system? Now, you're somebody who's maybe newer to me, so you don't know that we did a whole thing on, you know, the making of a husband and the making of a wife. And what is a wife? What makes you a wife? Before you start saying my husband needs to do X, Y, Z, what makes you even worthy of X, Y, Z? Before you start saying as a husband that my wife needs to do X, Y, Z, what makes you what makes you respond, but what legally puts you in righteousness? Righteousness is right legal standing. What allows you to be somebody that can speak up on these things? You said, do I speak locally? Living in West Hyattsville, PG County. I speak in different places. We do meetups. I can't say that I do as much stuff in person as much anymore because I don't really worry about putting buildings and stuff together. Right now I'm worried about land and the building to come. You know, however, if you want to, you know, text me, contact me at the information I'm about to put back up. You know, if we get enough people that want to come together, we just did a meetup right at the monument. Matter of fact, at the Washington Monument not too long ago. I try not to put them out publicly before we do them because I don't want to, you know, I'm not trying to have people that may or may not be about, you know, business. I'm very protective of not only myself, but also my family and also our people. So I try not to do too many things where people know every single detail about them, especially when we're meeting up. But yeah, we do those things. But once again, how do you, counteract the Willie Lynch curse? Yeah, we can talk about that, but once again, even that speaks to kingdom. It speaks to system. It speaks to system, right? The system that we're in, right? If women can't be held responsible, then that's half of the house. If aren't responsible, why even talk? Once again, did I say women shouldn't be held accountable? I think you have a thing where women have done you wrong, and you know there's a lot of women that done wrong, and you feel like nobody holds them accountable. You're at the wrong place. That's not my standard. So number one, you know, if you don't mind, address me on my standard. My standard is not every time a woman does something that she should be said that there's nothing accountable. If you listen to what I said, there's a system that's set up to where the woman has been taught that she's supposed to be in the place of a man. Willie Lynch said so, and he said that the only thing that was going to get us out of this or get black people out of this would be an anomaly. The anomaly would be that black men would be put back in position, that black women would be put back in position, that black women would feel secure and that black men would feel heard, and that we would go back to being kings and queens, and that we would go back to protecting ourselves and being about that system and holding each other accountable within those confines, the system, right? The manifestation will come if the system's in place. He said if we ever reverse the system, right? You said, not saying that to you, I should be at the people I'm commenting to you. Okay, well, okay, so I get you. But yeah, so my bad then. I apologize. Forgive me for that. You know, but that's what we're saying, right? And so mothers are responsible, but also too, there's a system, right? Let's be honest. We don't have, that's what we're working on with land and things like that. If we don't have a system in place to where a woman can feel secure, she would do some strange things to get that security, because security is important. If a man doesn't have a system where he feels like he's heard, then he's going to do some strange things to be able to get out of that. Now, what does our system say, the kingdom, that we should be trying to make sure that we get and have evidence of the kingdom, evidence of the system, so that then we can get the things out of the system, right? What should we be able to do to make sure? Well, here are some things that's really straight biblical, and Willie Lynch kind of took a page out of this. If you go to the curse side of this, Deuteronomy 28 verse 50 and so forth, then read the Willie Lynch letter. They're saying the same thing. But let's go back to Deuteronomy chapter 28 verses 1 through 14. How about making sure that we are the lender and never the borrower? How about making sure that we get land and we have food, we have our own water, we have our own jobs to be given out, if we want to call them jobs, whatever we do. How about doing something simple like coming together and having our own cryptocurrency? Because you're allowed to have your own currency or cryptocurrency. How about having our own currency? There are people in the United States, all over, in all 50 states, that have their own currency outside of the dollar. Right? How about making sure that we have our own beauty standard? And so when we have our own land, our children don't worry about looking like anybody else. They look like themselves. Right? How about making sure that we're obedient to law and subject to universal natural kingdom, marital laws, etc. Right? How about making sure, see, like, so for example, if can a black man be heard by anybody, including his woman in the system, that's told that he's not supposed to be heard? Right? Think about what I just said. Right? Is it really truly possible for a black man? And the number one thing for men really that they talk about all the times, whether I talk to them in life coaching, whether I listen to them talk to other people, whether I'm listening to, what's the name, Kevin, whatever his name is, that some people like and don't like, that talks about, how black women need to get themselves together. He's right about a lot. Some things he's not right about, whatever. But I'll give him credit where credit's due. He's right about a lot of things. I don't even know if he necessarily says it the way that he needs to say it, but he's right about a lot of things. But if you listen to him, or you listen to any of these people, like, the number one thing they're going to be saying is men aren't heard. We're not in a position to be heard. Now, if you're in a system that says don't listen to a black man, then if your wife or your woman or your daughters even are in a system where you don't listen to black men, they're more than likely not going to listen to you. Your neighborhood is developed where you don't listen to black men. Matter of fact, black men don't even survive that long enough to even become the patriarchs, so that all you listen to are matriarchs. If the matriarch of your community says that black men should be valued, then maybe you value them, maybe you don't. Right? Because you don't need to worry about them anyways. You don't protect black men, especially in hearing them. Right? But if you're in an environment that doesn't make sure black women feel secure, right, then why would black women feel secure? So if you don't have land, if you don't have a system where you can give out jobs, if you don't have a system where you can protect, if you don't have a system where you can check the police officers and make sure that they understand that you're a natural person and not an artificial person by their law, then you're not in a system where you can even have that conversation. You said Kevin Samuels is not in your neighborhood. I'm just saying, he's basically speaking because he's speaking and men are listening. You know why men are listening to Kevin Samuels? And once again, I don't think that everything he says is wrong. I'm just telling you, do you want to know why men listen to him? And even some women are showing up to listen to him now? Because men have never been heard. There's a lot of women that have never actually just heard a man talk, have never just listened to a man say, these are my emotions. This is what I feel. Like, when you do this to me, this is how a man feels. Like, you got to understand, like, you got to understand that's why people are listening to him, because a lot of men are like, yo, man, he gets women to actually call into his show and listen, and then he talks to them in a manner that they have to listen to him whether they want it or not. Like, they're like, that's incredible to them because they don't get listened to. So, we have to create a system where it's not an anomaly for a man to be heard, right? And therefore, not only to be heard, but it's not an anomaly for a man to be respected and not only listened to, but also to be, here's a tough word for a lot of people, to be obeyed. You call him a king, but you can't be obedient to him. Now, you're not obedient to trash. If he's a real show enough king, and he takes care of his people and he takes care of his woman, then guess what? You should what? Obey. Because he's doing stuff that is from the Most High and taking care of you, right? But a woman shouldn't obey anybody that's not going to secure her. Kings secure what's inside, what they have authority over, right? I mean, it's sad to hear it, but for real, a lot of men don't feel heard. You know, one of the things that's beautiful in my marriage is I can tell you that my wife and I have gotten to a place to where she feels secure. I feel heard. We had a conversation today, which I won't go into because it's our business. We had a conversation that we probably couldn't have had 7, 8 years ago, right? We were able to have a conversation to where she could just tell me what was up. She didn't, and I could tell she really didn't want to tell me what was up. But I just basically put it out there like, yeah, go ahead, tell me. And then she told me, and she felt secure because I didn't say, you're terrible, you're wrong, you're this, you're that. No, I was like, I could see that, and I could hear this, and I could see maybe why you think this or why this happened, and blah, blah. You know, and I put some stuff in. And as she was talking, she heard me, and she started saying, no, like, I feel secure. She didn't use the term secure, but she basically was like, well, you haven't really ever done that, and you haven't really done this, and this is what's going on. You haven't ever done this. You don't do this. Like, so why would you do it now? Because why was she able to hear me? Because she was secure. Why was she able to feel secure? Because I felt hurt. Or why was I able to secure her rather? Because I felt hurt. It's real. That's real. So, you know, so it's like we have to see the system plays a big piece in this. Do you have a system to where your men feel heard? Do you have a system that feels that to where your women feel secure? Is there a kingdom that gives you to that? Are you in a kingdom? The Republic of the United States of America is a kingdom. Are you in a kingdom that allows that? Right? If you're in a kingdom that's about capitalism, if you're in a kingdom that's about capitalism, are you that? And that's what this kingdom is about, right? Is capital something that your people have secure enough to be able? You can look at somebody eye to eye versus always looking like you need a hand up or saying we're going to pull ourselves up. Do you have anything that allows you to be able to say this is ours? You can't mess with it. There's certain things we ain't going to integrate on, and we're not going to give up culture on, and we're not going to make sure we bow down to you on, and we're not going to make sure that we have to follow whatever laws you tell us and this and that and third. Why? Because we have a kingdom that's established. We have a kingdom that's established of our own. We have a culture that's established. We don't put it to the side for anybody, right? And out of that, see, when you have laws established, right, because everybody has rights, but laws protect rights. Once you have laws established to protect the rights, now you can go ahead and make sure that you have to make sure that you go ahead and listen to those things. You said you checked out content. Okay, cool. Thank you. So now you can get to a conversation, have a deeper conversation. You said the man that I've heard didn't like what they were being shown as a result of what they were saying, the dysfunction. I'm not saying you're wrong in that. Can you explain it a little more clearly for me if you don't mind? Invited everyone to check out Davis Ministry on TikTok or YouTube. Okay, thank you for coming on and inviting other people to Davis Ministry. Appreciate it. I don't know who that is, but all right. So you said earlier, the question was asked, can I talk about the rapture in the future? So the rapture, you have to understand the rapture comes from, is actually a Latin word. It's based off of actually a Hebrew word, but it's a Latin version of the word rapturo, or rapture, or bird. You know, the rapture, the raptor, fastest bird on the planet, comes down, snatches something up, or just hits it real hard and hurts it. So it's like in the blink of an eye. Some raptors can, the fastest animal on the planet is a raptor that travels at 240 something miles per hour, 230 something miles per hour in the air, going straight down, and then at the last minute turns and puts his talons into the animal and kills it, right? Talking about that fast. Something can happen to where you're just on the ground, don't even know it, and all of a sudden something hits you, right? So when you're speaking on the rapture, really it's just saying something that snatches fast. That's what the word raptor or rapturo really is saying. Rapture is really saying something that snatches real fast. So we got to think kingdom mindset. And it's saying that basically that's how fast, we're going to be pulled. So when people say the rapture isn't really a Hebrew term, but the idea of it is basically that things are going to happen that fast. Now, as far as like who's going to be taken when and all that, you can just read the end of Revelation chapter 20, and you'll even find out how that's going to go, what the order is going to be, etc. We did a Revelation study since the original YouTube channel was taken down. We're going to have to revisit that at some point as well. But we actually had like a 30-part study. Some of it might even be on the podcast, the Kofi 40 podcast. You can find it just looking it up, or you can go to Podbean. It's probably the fastest way to find it. PODBEAN, the Podbean app, and be able to look that up. You said basically the majority were protecting who they want to be versus who they really are. Duplicity and denial. Okay, I got you. I got you on that. So yeah, so you have to recognize that this is what's happening with these things, and as far as kingdom mentality. And so everybody keeps looking for the miracle. Everybody keeps looking for the end game, but nobody wants to talk about the system that must be set up. That's why we talk about the systemic nature of things. Systematic. The things were systematically put in place. That means that they were put in place on purpose. And systemically, there are systemic. So that means that basically they function on their own. And they function on their own due to people continuing to just live up to the standards of the system that is systemic in nature, as far as reversing your nature. So the system is the thing, right? The system is the thing. People vote without ever thinking about the system, or people vote for people to change the system, not realizing that the people who you're voting for are still Republicans and Democrats. That means that they're in the same system. Do I believe that Avda, or what you call Hebrew, was the original language before the confusion of language? I do not. I believe that something very similar to Hebrew was the original and initial language. I do not know if it was. I'm just going to be honest. I do not know. I'm not intimate with the fact. And I haven't found anything that shows me that Noah, Shem, Ham, and Yapet spoke Hebrew. They spoke something close to it. And you got to understand, the further back you go in history, whether you believe in the Bible or not, it's just something that's sensical. The further back you go in history, the closer you get to everybody speaking one language. So even before Hebrew was written, it was spoken, right? Just like even before stuff was written in Egypticos, or Kemetic language was spoken, it existed. So you have to understand that the kingdom mind, even when you go back, we've shown this before on some of the stuff, on some of our stuff we've gone through. When you look at like the Chinese language, ancient Chinese language, you'll discover that their ancient language is based off, and some of their modern language even, their characters and stuff are based off of the characters in the study of the Bible. Like, for example, if you want to look up what they right now and back then have for for family, their characters for family are 3 characters put together. It's 8 people in water on a boat. 8 boat water. That's what their character for family is. So they believe that 8 people on a boat in water represent family. If you look up what they believe as far as journey or travel, journey or travel, it's a person from the West, because they believe that Eden came from the West. They even had one Elohim that they worshipped, or you might call it a god or whatever. They called it Shangdi. Shangdi was the creator of all. They believed in Noah, Shem, Ham, Yapet, or Japheth. They believed that they were supposed to, they believed that he could rain down fire, that he could cause floods. They believed all those things, right? So the further back you go, you'll find that everybody actually gets closer to what they believe, and what they speak, etc. So even in that, it's a culture thing. It's a kingdom that was established. And the further we've gotten away from it, like, they didn't used to believe in multiple gods in China. They didn't used to believe, or what we would call gods, right? They didn't believe in multiple gods in Hindu originally. They didn't believe in multiple gods in Kemet originally. Matter of fact, that's something that actually comes up as a fight. Check out Queen Tai and her grandson, her son and her grandson, and what happened with them, right? And how she had one thing established, multiple gods, and all of a sudden you have, her son and Nefertiti, who's married to her son and stuff. They come in, they say, no, we're going to be about this one, Netzer, which we would call God or Elohim again. And then they go back to no, and then they put King Tut in place. And King Tut, being young, all the religious leaders said we need to go back to having multiple gods again. And you're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So yeah. Yes, Kofi is because I was born Friday. Yep. You're going to name your son Kofi Lee, Friday born. Podbean was the teaching title for Rapture. I don't know if we have an exact teaching title for Rapture. We had something on Revelation. So if you go and look up our Revelation series, some of it should be on there. If it's not on there, like I said, at some point we're going to have to revisit it and do a whole thing. Anyways, you said you believe Kemetic people might have stolen symbols from the Hebrews. You see the Ankh on Hezekiah's seal. Well, that's something that people don't recognize and think about. The Ankh didn't used to mean anything attached to a god. That's something that they did, in fact, pervert that. I would say they perverted that. But the Ankh existed before them. The Ankh existed with the Cush people. Cush existed before Kemet. Even biblically speaking, even historically, what we call historically speaking, you'll find that Cush existed before Kemet. So everything that Kemet was about, including its pyramids, about its netures, or who you would call gods, all that stuff, they got that from Kemet and renamed it and then tried to wash out Kemet and act like their big brother didn't teach them those things. So you even got to be aware of that. But the Ankh was in existence before them. And a lot of Israelite, and the Ankh basically is nothing more than just the balance between masculine and feminine nature, and really what depending on what your belief system is, the two straight parts, right? Like, let me show you real quick. I don't really wear it as much anymore, not because I have a problem with it, but because this Ankh actually is like a gift to me, and it got messed up, and I don't want it to be totally broken, so I just don't wear it anymore. But you know, this is my Ankh right here. Made out of organite with copper and herbs and stuff inside of it. It was a blessing to me, given by somebody who saw something in me, and you know, allowed me to be, you know, a jelly griot, or a teacher, you know, basically like, you know, pass the mantle down, so to speak. And basically all this is talking about the masculine energy, right? And look at it, that's your, you know, that's basically your what, like we talked about earlier in Kemetic culture, this phallus or whatever, right? The obelisk, right? The George Washington Memorial, the obelisk. It's just, that's all it is the phallus, and then you have on top, you have the woman's vagina, right? The garden, the place where life, you know, where procreation, when these two come together, where the seed's going to happen. And depending on what your belief system is, these are just two arms, or these are just two, you know, fallopian tubes, depending on who you talk to. And basically it's just saying comes together, and seed comes out, things grow together. That's all it just really is, right? That's all it's really saying, is that we have to come together, right? That's all the idea of an Ankh is. And the Kemetic people eventually took this, tried to make it about gods and stuff. But remember, people from Kemet, they left with Israel. Israel had married into Kemet. If you even believe in the Bible, Israel had married into Kemet even before they became what we would use the term slaves, right? And they actually went, and then people left with Israel who were Kemetic. And remember, they were in the wilderness for 40 years, and if you weren't over the age of 60, you didn't even get to go into the land of Canaan. It wasn't just Moses, but pretty much everybody except for Joshua and his family, and for Caleb and his family, everybody else died off before, right? So when they came in as Israelites and Kemetic people and Cush people. Moses' wife was Cush, right? And they would eventually marry into Canaanites and Moabites and Hittites and all these different people, right? So Israel is, when we do this Israelite thing and people say Israel's not African, is actually a really weird thing, because it means you have to deny what the Bible says. It's very complicated mindset that people are into. That being said, all that being said, though, you find a lot of Hebrew people, Israelites, who are buried with this. When they dug up a lot of them, they're buried with it, because this was not against their Elohim. It's not against our Elohim. It's not against Yahweh. This was just simply making a statement saying that we believe that men and women have to come together. and it's older than Kemet, right? It's older than Cush technically, but it's older than Kemet for sure. So when people look at this and they start saying, oh, this is that, it's because people don't know. Once again, the system you're in. What system you're in. Are you in a system that he would even teach that, or talk to you about that, or acknowledge those things? Right? Now, people start saying this is because this Ra had to do this, and blah, 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 and Osiris had to do this, and Isis had to do this, and Heru had to do this. Now, that's a different concept. But if you're just talking about masculine, feminine energy, I mean, that's just like in the Bible. Like in our culture, speaking Avda or Hebrew, you'll comprehend that Yahweh, or is Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Abba is Father. That's masculine. You have the Son who comes out of Abba and this woman talked about in Genesis chapter 3. And then you have the woman who, either, depending on who you talk to, can be described as Israel. So Israel being a woman, a she, a her, the wife of the Most High, right? Or even the Ruach HaKodesh is referred to in the Bible always in our culture as a she. It was only when Greco-Roman people, who wanted you to believe that everything was about men first and women were not as powerful or didn't deserve as much respect as men, that's only when you start hearing the Holy Spirit referred to as a he. Some people will still argue about the Holy Spirit has to be he, and it's like, well, you don't know Hebrew, because in Israelite culture, even in modern Hebrew, the Holy Spirit is still a she. He said, Renap says, is there any biblical meaning to a monarch butterfly to your knowing? Been blessed with caring for one. I don't think so. I can't say that I know that 100% for certain, but that's probably something you could Google real fast and be able to find. But I don't think so. That being said, though, once again, it's about kingdom. It's about establishment. Once kingdom is established, you get the manifestation. People are always looking for the manifestation only. Understand the manifestation comes through a system. If we start to change the system and create not even change the system. I'm not worried about changing their system. Let them have their system. Be ye in the system, but what not of it. The system we need to be of is something that we create or just simply take on what was always there and was always for us before somebody told us that we didn't deserve a system for ourselves. All right? So that being said, thank you for being on. I appreciate the king and queen in each and every one of you. Even if you're not living inside that kingdom or queendom yet, I appreciate the potential king and queen in each and every one of you. Because whether I planted a seed, whether it was watered today, or whether you, simply came on and, wanted to thank you for that angelic discipline. I appreciate that. Or whether you, whether you got a seed, whether I planted a seed, whether you had seed watered, Yahweh's coming. He's the one that gives the increase. And so we're excited about what's about to happen with your life. I'm going to go ahead and take my leave. Remember, new classes coming up October 11th. I'm going to just say this real quick. Mondays, and this is all at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time on Zoom. We will record these, so if you need to catch up with the recordings in a later time, just let us know. The classes will be Monday. And you can reach us at any of the information that's up here to be able to find out what's going on, right? So classes will be on Monday. Mondays will be on marriage. Tuesdays will be on monarchy. Wednesdays will be on sovereignty. Thursdays will be on natural medicine 1. Fridays will be on cyst. And Saturdays are going to be on Hebrew characters. Getting us ready for January, we're going to finally start Hebrew language 1. So thank you guys. I appreciate you all. Brothers in Black is coming up in October. October 1st is when we're going to go. I'll be a blessing to the community. October 18th will be the first Monday where we're going to start getting up at 6:45 a.m. to make sure that we do about an hour or so Bible study. October 1st is also Yah's Land Project, Yah's Land Project 83, where we're going to make sure that we come together and we start making sure that we save up as a community. We're looking for bare minimum 30 families that are willing to put in $83 and some change a month so that we can all come together and own some land together. We can live on that land. We can establish the land. We can make sure that everything needs to happen on that land happens no later than October 1st next year. That's our goal. That's our prayer. That's our thought process. That's what we're going towards. So we're thankful and grateful to everybody. We appreciate you. And as always, this is Pastor Kofi, a.k.a. the Shadow Band One, Pastor Servants of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. Much love and shout out to my beautiful wife, the Honorable Maya, whose name on here is Bloom and Flourish, not A-N-D, but the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. You can find her on TikTok, YouTube, and her website. If you want information on her business, her tinctures, or even the stuff that we're doing in the community for nonprofit through her nonprofit organization to make sure that people are clothed. Matter of fact, clothing drives and coat drives and all that always go on, but the coat drive specifically is going to be happening soon. If you want to donate some stuff to help us to make sure that people have things in the wintertime, especially in the DMV area, but really up and down the East Coast, just reach out to us, let us know. We're excited. We're about to do some great things as always, and it's because of you guys helping us. So thank you. We appreciate you. As always, it's been Pastor Kofi, aka the Shadow Band One, Pastor Servant of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken until I have the great pleasure, privilege, and opportunity again of being in front of you. Please remember as always that you are loved, you are necessary, you are majestic, you are fearfully and wonderfully made in you, which is all of us working together. We shall be the reason this world changes for the better, bare minimum. Will be the reason why people who are in the system no longer have to be of it. Shalom, family. Peace.